I usually wait until Kuro drops official information on signature weapons for upcoming characters, but it turns out Iuno's weapon is actually available in the gallery, just like her kit information. So for everyone that drew my attention to it in the comment section of the previous video, thank you. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the pull value of this weapon by analyzing how it easily synergizes with Iuno to give you guys an idea of what you should expect from her gameplay and build. Then we'll dive into which characters can benefit from this weapon from a free-to-play perspective, other weapon options available for Iuno in case you missed the previous video, and finally my pull recommendation to help you decide if you should pull for this weapon or not, based on several situations. For the stats, she's rocking a 36% crit rate, which is absolutely amazing considering the fact that she also has crit rate on her skill tree, which further reduces her dependency on Shorekeeper for the crit rate buff that she can provide. This will come in quite handy for those who would like to run the Zhengzhen, Iuno, and Augusta team composition, where the main focus will be on trying to increase the damage output of both Iuno and Augusta. Since Zhengzhen can provide healing, you can slap the Rejuvenating Glow Sonata effect on her to provide the 15% attack buff for the entire team. Since the Tower of Adversity is getting 2 more floors, this will be perfect to free up Farina and Shorekeeper to pair with other damage dealers on your account. The high crit rate also means that we can run a crit damage Lady of the Sea 4-cost Echo, and if your build is well optimized, you should have about 280% total crit damage on Iuno. Let me use my Zani build here as an example. I have 115% crit damage on my Echoes alone, because I'm running a crit damage focus echo, as you can see right here. So 115% plus the 20% that we get from Crown of Valor and the 150% that everyone starts with equals 285% crit damage. Crit rate shouldn't be a problem because if we add the 36% on our weapon to the 49% total crit rates that you can get from echoes and skill tree, just like my Zani here, you should be getting around 85% total crit rate on Iuno. This means that getting decent crit stats at S0 should not be a problem. The 500 base attack is a bit low, but we can't complain much because of the high crit rate that the weapon provides. The Crown of Valor Sonata effect can also provide 30% attack buff, so getting over 2k attack in total, which is recommended for all units that deals high damage, should not be a problem. Now for the passives. The first bot buffs attack by 12%, which is nothing special, and it seems Kuro has stopped giving us weapons that provides 12% all type attribute damage bonus. But at least the 12% attack buff is a universal buff that any other gauntlet unit can benefit from as long as they scale off attack. The second passive buffs liberation damage by 20% for 15 seconds after casting an intro skill or resonance liberation. Keep in mind that this is liberation damage bonus but not liberation damage amplification. You can see a similar thing happening on Augusta's signature weapon. It says that it increases heavy attack damage, but I found out after testing that it was referring to heavy attack damage bonus. This is something that I hope Kuro can fix in the future by making stat descriptions much more specific. The intro skill cast method of activation is very good because it makes the 20% liberation damage bonus easily accessible to any other character like Shangli Yao, for example, as long as you use an intro skill before you cast this liberation. The third part of the passive will allow liberation damage to shred up to 36% of the target's defense when the wielder gains a shield, just like what we have on Augusta's weapon. Iuno's shield regeneration passive helps ensure that we can make use of all the liberation damage defense shred by basically attacking the enemy 5 times. But because of our role as a sub DPS buffer, where the focus is on dealing damage and leaving the field as quickly as possible, the fourth part of the passive comes in to help her stack all the defense shred right after an intro skill, but it lasts for 3 seconds. This passive is meant for Iuno to be able to nuke with her liberation right after an intro skill so that you don't have to attack the enemy multiple times to stack the defense shred. And the best part is that it synergizes really well with the other passive that grants her all the 40% damage amplification with an intro skill and casting her liberation. So it's very difficult to mess up with Iuno as far as stacking all her buffs is concerned. But what if you intro with Iuno and her liberation is not available for you to use in the subsequent rotations? That shouldn't be a problem because you can proceed to enter the new moon state and do damage with the 40 stacks that you can get from an intro skill. Doing so changes the 3 seconds buff duration of the fourth passive back to the original 7 seconds of the third passive, because attacking enemies will constantly refresh the 7 seconds duration of all the defense shred stacks, just like what you're seeing right here with Augusta's signature weapon. So basically all I'm trying to say is that the maximum stacks that you get after an intro skill is not different from the stacks that you can get from the third passive by attacking the enemy. The only difference is that if you don't attack the enemy after an intro skill, you're going to lose all the 36% defense shred after 3 seconds. However, do keep in mind that not using Iuno's Liberation right after an intro skill can hurt her damage output, because any damage she does with her Forte circuit will not benefit from the 20% damage amplification if there is no full moon domain. So, it's very important that you always use her Liberation after an intro skill. Luckily, her resonance energy cost is just 125, but I'll further optimize her rotations in her guide video to account for any energy issues that you might encounter while playing her, so be sure to look forward to it. With that out of the way, let's get into this weapon's synergy with other characters in the game from a free-to-play perspective. Unlike Augusta's weapon, the third part of the passive is not entirely useless. Liberation damage focused characters like Shangli Yao can not only benefit from the 20% liberation damage bonus, but can also benefit from all the 36% defense shred as well, but only for 3 seconds after an intro skill. But this will be worth it if the wielder can nuke with their liberation just like Shangli Yao, so that they can take advantage of the full defense shred to do big damage right after an intro skill. Aside from Shangli Yao, there is no other gauntlet unit at the moment that scales heavily on liberation damage, but the weapon can be a universal alternative due to the high crit rate substat. Now let's get into Iuno's weapon alternatives. I've already covered this in the kit analysis and breakdown video, but in case you missed it, here's a brief rundown of what you need to know. You should be running a 5-star weapon to take full advantage of her high damage potential. If you cannot afford a signature weapon, here are your list of alternatives. First priority will be Verity's Handle due to the crit rate substat, and it provides liberation damage bonus from the passive. Iuno can easily refresh the liberation damage bonus by using her special skill in the new moon state after casting her liberation. Second priority will be Blazing Justice as a crit damage statistic, which pairs well with the crit rate on Iuno's skill tree. So you should be looking at around 70% total crit rate with a crit rate focused echo if your build is well optimized. Third priority will be Tragic Comedy, mainly as a crit rate statistic because Iuno's damage is not heavily focused on heavy attack damage. Keep in mind that if you intend to use Tragic Comedy, you should be running a crit damage focused echo. Abyss Surges should be the last option among the recommended weapon alternatives due to the lack of crit rate and crit damage substat, but feel free to use it if that's the only 5-star weapon option you have. If you don't have any 5-star weapon and you cannot get the Battle Pass weapons either, I want you to use Celestial Spiral as a placeholder until you can get your hands on a 5-star weapon. Now here are my pull recommendations. For free-to-play and low spenders, I highly recommend that you pick up this weapon as a versatile gauntlet weapon option to slap on anyone due to the crit rate substat, so that you don't have to worry if the wielder has crit rate or crit damage on their skill tree. The fourth passive makes it even better because it gets rid of the shield gain and refresh condition for 3 seconds, so any liberation focused damage dealer can take full advantage of it for a few seconds. For those who have no issues with spending but a bit dry at the moment because of Showkeeper and Augusta, I still got you covered. Such players should have Augusta and Zani's signature weapon, so your focus should be on Iuno's buffing capabilities. Augusta and Zani's damage output with Iuno's buffs will be more than enough to demolish any type of endgame content. But I can't really say the same for those who are planning on getting Iuno specifically for Jiyan. Jiyan doesn't really have a problem in Windprint Waste, but the Tower of Adversity is a different issue. Error buffs that we get in the middle tower mostly synergize with Cartethia, so if Jiyan is among the few DPS units that you have on your account, or you really like his playstyle, getting Iuno's weapon can help increase the team's overall damage output compared to the Mortefi team due to Iuno's high damage potential. That'll be all for my Iuno weapon pull value breakdown. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel because it's free and you can always change your mind. Our Discord link will be in the pinned comment if you're having any issues with the game or you just want a place to chill or hang out. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.